Welcome back to another episode of the Whistle Blows. Today, we're delighted to drop the big exclusive on the big fan meetup at the Nottingham Forest game with two of the key organisers. Firstly, introducing someone who's making their first return since their famed debut on the Whistle Blows. Change for Tottenham member and the person I'm sure the club gets sick of having to deal with. It's, of course, Jaay. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Been a hectic week, sort of here, there, everywhere, trying to work, trying to deal with everything, trying to deal with Stu down my neck, getting questions at me. Just yeah, nah, it's been good, and obviously it's been hard, and obviously change top and stuff we'll touch on a bit later. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's some big news coming out on Thursday. Well, it's come out tonight. It got leaked. Um, as you can tell by the panic timing of all the tweets, it come out earlier than it was supposed to. But yeah, we'll get into that. And obviously, always great to be on the show, you two boys.
Nice to see you, mate. And secondly, making his debut on the show, and I think it might be his YouTube podcast debut, maybe not. But if it isn't, you will know him from TikTok. And when he's not eating space cakes in Amsterdam and getting himself in a pickle, he is following Tottenham home and away. It is, of course, Stu. Stu, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm really good. Also, just echoing what Jay said, it's been a bit of a manic few days. But with the help with the boys around, obviously Jay, Billy T, the other boys, Kern, JB, TMY, there's a few of them. We've managed to somehow get this over the line, and it's just all been worth it, to be honest. So we're all buzzing for Sunday. And yeah, it's a privilege to be on here with you lovely people too.
Nice to see you, mate. And Bill, as always, good to be on with you. How are you, Bill?
Yeah, good man. It's been a manic week with these guys. Just want to shout out, both of them because and as we'll talk about a bit, when you try and do something like this, and it's the same with the protest, the same with something like this, the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes, as the guys will attest to, is mad. Like, you have to do so much to be able to do something like this, and it's not, you can't just say, well, let's all just turn up on the bricklayers on the high road, and at this time there's so much more to it than that. And these guys, obviously, the two of the key players behind the scenes, but it's been a great team effort as well. There's loads of other guys helping to do it, and a lot of other groups coming together to support the cause, and it just feels like loads of people are coming together for how important this is and this Forest game. So just want to thank these guys for all the hard work they've done. And like I said, there's so much that happens behind the scenes. It's like, you wouldn't believe it. It's just meetings and talking to police and all sorts, but we'll get into that later, of course. And how are you, mate? Connor, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually looking forward to Tottenham games. Very short-lived, I'm sure, but at the moment, after a bit of a more inspiring performance against Liverpool, which we'll come on to now, I think we've all got a little bit of a glimmer of hope, right? Which is good. But yeah, maybe starting with that. Stu, did you go up to Anfield?
I didn't know. I was due to go. Obviously, I had some filming to do in London early morning, Monday morning. Um, so obviously, I had to be on the train for like 7 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't have got back till 2. So I decided to take that one off. And obviously, I did think that obviously it would be a long game. And truthfully, didn't think we'd get anything from it, as I don't think any of us probably thought we would. I kind of thought, you know what, it's probably one to chalk off there, but thankfully they turned up, they fought for the badge, and yeah, some games you just have to miss, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I think last time I was with you at an away game, it was at Anfield, actually. It was in the cup when we lost in the cup semi-final. But yeah, so yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Normally our record there is pretty horrendous. I assume you watched it though. What did you make of the game, mate?
Um, like I thought, first 10 minutes, I thought we started off the better side, and I kind of thought we looked in control of the game, and I think the goal kind of changed the game for me. Again, you can sit at Fakario and point a finger at him a little bit flat-footed, didn't really get off the ground, didn't elevate, positioning was probably a little bit off key. And you're kind of sitting there thinking that goes in 1-0, and you're thinking, right, okay, what are we made of? And I think probably the next 25 minutes, we were probably under the cosh quite a bit, really, without them really creating a great deal. It was nice to see the actual manager for once actually make us hard to beat, sit us in numbers, try and break us down. That's what we've been asking for a long time. Atletico Madrid was the ideal one, wasn't it? Sit in, get some sort of result, don't get overdone. And we managed to do that. We stayed in the game. I think towards the end of the half, we had a couple of chances. Richarlison, I think he had a couple of headers. Any other day they go in. And I thought the second half, we were the better side. I think we looked the more encouraging. Obviously, they made a couple of changes, brought on a couple of big hitters. Again, they're going to cause you problems as they do, especially with a kind of centre half partnership of Danso and Dragerson. You're kind of fearing the worst. But I thought we were superb. And for me personally, like, I don't mind losing games of football, and I don't mind watching the games of football when they show the fight and the hunger, the determination that they show in that game. They gave us everything that we've been wanting to see for a couple of months. That heart and hunger has not been there. And all of a sudden, they shoe up in a big moment and picked up a massive point. And look, that point could turn out to be the saving grace in our whole season. Let's be honest. It just all of a sudden we're all sitting here now uplifted. We're all excited for tomorrow's game, kind of like as a free hit. And then we're all excited for the game on Sunday. All of a sudden, everyone around the club is just thinking, you know what, we can get out of this. We had great news today, players coming back from injury as well. It's just at the moment, we've had some positive news one after another. And that's unheard of. The last 2 years, apart from winning the final, we've been kicked every corner to pillar and post, and thankfully, it looks like we're turning that corner. And obviously, this event is going to push Sunday massively. And yeah, I'm excited for it all. I do believe we're going to stay up, and just the players, just like I say, it was just nice to see some grit and determination from them personally.
And I think, look, there's been a bit of a surprising mixed reception, I think, to the game on at least some YouTube shows, with some fans being still quite negative, which is a bit surprising to me, considering, basically everyone, Jaay, was predicting that we were gonna lose 3 or 4 at least, and was thinking, with 13 injuries, terrible form, what our record is like at Anfield. But I think Stu is bang on, isn't he? That the players did definitely showed us a bit more than what we've seen in recent weeks, and there definitely was a lot of fight there, and we created chances.
Yeah, I mean, you can instantly see the reaction. There was a reaction from the players that we haven't seen before. Sorry, not before, not seen in a very long time, where it seems to be that we went 1-0 down. Yeah. And under Thomas Frank, you would sit there and you would watch us collapse up until the 80th minute. And then we might get a lucky 10-minute burst at the end of the game. And you can say we didn't play great. You look at what we had available. We had 13 senior players. We couldn't fill a subs bench. We couldn't even put academy players on there. So it was a bit of a, you look at that result, you go away to Anfield and you're thinking, I'm just praying we don't end up hitting the 13 goal difference that everybody would have needed to go above us. And they come and pull that performance out of the bag. We could have quite easily won that game. You look at the chances at the end, we look very tired, we look very lethargic, and we now go into, obviously, tomorrow night. It's a tougher game. Atletico play Real Madrid at the weekend, so they might not necessarily have their strongest squad out. We know we're good at home in the Champions League. Maybe we can do something we're not expecting. But yeah, I mean, it just gives us that bit more energy towards going, do you know what? If these boys are up for the fight, that's why Sunday is so key. We get behind them.
100%. And Bill, I think, looking ahead to tomorrow's game, I mean, it's some ask to turn around that deficit after what obviously happened away at Atletico, but perhaps Sporting have given us some hope, although against Bodo tonight. But I think for me, it's more just about the momentum of a win. So even if it's, a 1-0 win, which means that we go out, at least you're just getting used to winning games again. I mean, we haven't won a game in 2026, right?
Yeah, definitely. Not since the Champions League anyway. And yeah, I think it's the first time in the season that we've got a bit of, or first time in 2026, sorry, that we've got a bit of momentum. It feels like, and like Stu said earlier, with the players coming back from injury, Bergvall is big. Udogie will be big as well. They'll probably both be on the bench tomorrow, Tudor said. So it finally seems like there's a little bit of light here, and I think everyone, and including this was true of last weekend as well, is everyone is looking at that Forest game as the one, like that's the big one. But we just hope that with this game we just sort of get out of it, come out of it the other side with a bit of integrity still. Like the last thing that we need now is to get absolutely smacked again. So hopefully we'll get just, even if it's like a 1-1 draw or something like that, do you know what I mean? It won't be the end of the world. Just don't embarrass ourselves, get ahead, get some momentum going. If we manage to win, that'd be amazing going into Forest. But I know all eyes got to be on that Forest game. And interestingly, you know, I've seen a lot of people saying we should rest players for this game, but there's not really a lot you can do, is there? Because, you know, I know we got a couple of players back, but Richarlison suspended. Apparently, Solanke's got a small problem as well, so he's not going to have loads of choice going into this game. So I think it'll just be about getting out the other side of it, and then, you know, I personally feel like this is one of the biggest games in our history, which is obviously why it's been so good with the boys to do what they're doing with it. But it just all eyes will be on that Forest game, won't they?
Well, but Stu, with the Atletico game, what are your thoughts? Would you rest players in this one, or do you think it's more important to get a bit of momentum? And as Bill says, we haven't actually got many players that can come in anyway.
Yeah. Now, for me personally, I think this is a game we've got to go for. I don't think we can start looking ahead of ourselves. You know, like it'd be easy for us to sit there and say, you know what, we're 5-2 down. What's the chance of us going through? But look, football's a funny old game. It's a really, really funny old game. Like I walked out of that stadium in Madrid and I wasn't really overly impressed with Atletico Madrid. I thought they won the game because we actually let them win the game. You know, like it's unheard of to see players that can't stand on their feet because they haven't got the right footwear on. And if you take them 3 slips out of the game, you know, it's a lot closer game than what it should have been. And I think apart from that, I thought second half we were so much better. We looked threatening, you know. But for me personally, it's just a shame that Igor Tudor didn't adopt the same tactics as Liverpool as what we did throughout there, you know. Because for me personally, we should have went out there just park the bus. You take a 1-0 loss, getting back to our place, and we've got a really, really good chance of going through. But like I said, I don't think we can rest players. I think we've got to go for it. I think we need to start trying to breathe some confidence into the team. And look, if we go out tomorrow, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I don't think no one's going to be really upset. You know, looking at it, our main item is obviously survival. But saying that, I would just love for us to go there, have a real go. Like you said earlier, if you win 1-0, 2-1, we get knocked out. You know, just you've won a game of football. Just that's going to give you that little bit of confidence to move on to the weekend. You know, obviously with the players coming back, it might be a chance to maybe give Bergville and Dogi 10 minutes as well, a bit of running leg time in their legs. So it's a lot of positives to take from tomorrow. There really is. You know, like Romero missed the game at the weekend, Mickey Van de Ven, they're probably going to need a few minutes in their legs as well. You know, we've got some tough decisions ahead. And for me personally, I think just go for it. I think go for it. You know, whatever happens, and we'll worry about Sunday after the game tomorrow night.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a good point actually about trying to get some minutes in the legs of the boys that come back. I think, as you say, it feels a bit alien to us, all of this positive news, but I think certainly Udogie all season, he's been in and out of injury. We really missed that balance of having a left-footed left back for me.
Yeah.
I know Sousa's done a decent job since coming, although he got picked on the right against Liverpool. But Jaay, one big decision, I suppose, they've got both for the Athletic game, but also at the weekend, is what they're going to do about the centre back situation. Because Danso was imperious, right, against Liverpool. I thought he had a really, really good game, and it would be very, very harsh, I think, to drop him. Now, obviously, he might stick with 3 at the back and play him plus Van de Ven and Romero. But what do you make of that?
I mean, you could say arguably we've played our best football under Tudor in a 4-4-2. I think that's fair to say. I'm not saying the standard of football was acceptable or it's what we want it to be, but we've got the tools that are laid on the pitch in front of us, and Danso, I think, was one of our best players last Liverpool. Everything was getting cleared. He was just getting rid of everything. And the question has to come in, especially for a big game, and some people might not agree. The question's got to come in if Romero's back for Forest, do you play Van de Ven over Danso if he does stick with a 4-4-2? Because for me, Van de Ven has played like a player for the last couple of weeks who has let his frustrations get the better of him. And I don't think it's the mantra that's going around that he's trying to force his move. I think that it's more so he's a player who wants to win. We've got a couple of winners in there, but not enough captains and not enough leaders who will lead by example. And come Sunday, I'd say this is equally as big as any game we've ever seen. So no, for me, I wouldn't like to be in Tudor's situation where he does have to say, you know what, I'm going to go with Van de Ven and Romero, or if he plays all 3. And I just see in the comments somebody says play Van de Ven left back. If we've got Udogie fit and he does come on and looks good. I think you've got to play Udogie, the natural left back, whereas Van der Ven, yeah, he is fantastic at driving with the ball. His pace can get us out of so many situations, and they've got Callum Hudson-Odoi, Amari Hutchinson. They've got these quick players, which that's where Van der Ven would excel in.
Yeah, I agree. It's a difficult one, I think, because I agree with you. We did look better playing that four at the back. I think it all depends on how fit Udogie is. So I think Stu's suggestion of giving him 10 minutes is sensible, and then see where it goes from there. But I think just coming on to obviously the Forest game and the meet up, and I've got the poster here, lads, that you guys have put together. I don't know, Stu, whether you want to just do a quick run through of the sort of broad plans before we get into some specifics.
Yeah, well, basically, we're obviously aiming for roughly we're saying about 11:30 meet, obviously between the Bilnick and the Sunny Memorial. The coach is due to arrive, say about 1 o'clock. Could be a few minutes earlier, so I would suggest people to get there a little bit earlier. It's just going to be a positive event. We're going to welcome the players on the coach as they come through on the high road. They will be coming past us. We're just going to be wearing white. Going to be flags, banners, you name it. We're there. Just create a real positive atmosphere, just to try and lift the players. Because look, we've been very negative at home. There's been a lot of, really abject performances. We've got the crowd not looking forward to going to home games, and now all of a sudden, like the buzz we're getting and the feedback we're getting from this event being planned, people are really, really excited to be coming to this game. Like, I have had so many messages. Can you get me tickets? Can you get me tickets? I can't remember the last time someone texted me, asked me for a ticket for a game of football at home. It's
give them away, Stu, before, could we?
No, I couldn't. And I'll tell you now, my phone is absolutely blown up today. People are so excited to come to this game. And I'll tell you now, it's because of the start of it, what we're going to do. Like, I'm really, really hoping that this event, it transcends into the stadium. This is the idea of it. It's not just a case of we're allowed outside for 45 minutes. It's almost a case of, look, we'll do this outside, then we'll eventually go to have a drink or whatever, and then we'll end up in the south stand, build the atmosphere in there, and then hopefully that's when it all affects onto the field, and everyone's just positive for 90 minutes. Look, even if we go 1-0 down, we stay behind the team. We don't get negative. We don't get into the booing and all that type of stuff. It's all about positive vibes. That look, there's no guarantee this is going to work. No guarantee in the world. But look, we can either sit back and do nothing as a fan base, or we can rise to it and give them a 12th man. And thankfully, our fan base have chosen to stand up and be a 12th man. And as it says there, show up, sing up, stay up. That's the motto. Every single person who's coming to the game, make sure you attend the event. And we're just going to bring the party before the game starts, pick up a big 3 points, and that'll give us a bit of breathing space. And then we can all celebrate after the game as well.
Can I just ask, Stu? Obviously, I think this kind of started to get a bit. I think your original video was after. I think it was after the Crystal Palace game. Where did you sort of get this idea from? What sort of gave you the inspiration or the idea to sort of try and do this? Because I think it's, obviously I've seen behind the scenes what happened since. But how did it start?
Well, look, let's be honest. I was probably one of those people that actually stood there and thought, you know what, we're never going to go down. I truthfully thought we ain't going to go down. I just kept thinking, we've lost another game. Well, we'll be all right. We'll turn it around. We've got games coming up where we're going to win, But then Crystal Palace game, cemented it for me. I thought, you know what, we're in trouble. We are in deep, deep trouble. And I walked out of that ground and I just felt the negative energy drain from everyone. I went home and I literally kind of struggled with it a little bit. And then I woke up in the morning. I was just laying there in bed and I just thought, I've got to do something. And I don't know why. Somehow I just thought, right, I'm going to try something positive. And obviously I put it in the chat group saying, right, guys, I've got this idea. Would any of you help me run with it? And a few of them, Jaay and the others, they've all jumped in. Been absolutely magnificent, by the way. And then obviously, of course, we've added lovely people like Billy. Billy's been amazing as well. And we've just built a really good team. But for me personally, like I said, we can either sit here and moan, or we can try and do something about it. For me personally, I love my football club enough that I want to try and do something positive. We don't go home and away and spend all this money traveling around the world watching them for us to, when it gets difficult, just to turn our backs and walk away. That's not what football's about. You know, we have to stay behind, stay united. And look, I honestly believe if we didn't do something like this with the negativity around the ground, I think we could be in trouble. I'm hoping this changes the whole dynamics of our relegation battle. And from the feeling we're kind of getting at the moment, like everything is uplifted. Like I said, it's all uplifted. People seem positive. People want to go to the games. And that's a good sign. So fingers crossed, hopefully, that this little idea that was just probably my brain just ticking over, to be honest, you know, and all of a sudden it's transcended. And now I'm looking around thinking, oh my God, we've done it. We've actually done it. Between this amazing group of lads we've got, we've actually somehow pulled it off. And it's all sorted. You know, it's incredible. There's no guessing around about where the coaches come in and where we've got to do. You know, the club, by the way, have been absolutely fantastic. And I will say that out loud. Like the people in the meetings, the chief of police that was in the meeting as well, by the way, they have all been absolutely incredible, by the way. And we want to thank them as well. You know, without them helping us, this again probably wouldn't be as possible or as easy as been to get together. I say easy. Jaay wouldn't say that, but it's been difficult, but we've got there, and now it's up to the fans to do their part and show up, sting up, and stay up.
And Jaay, what would you? And you know, I completely echo what Stu has been saying there. The team is an amazing team, and Jaay, what would you say are the key things that anyone that's really keen to come on Sunday? What are the sort of the absolute must timings and places and stuff like that for anyone that's sort of not sure? I know Stu went over there as well, but what are the actual essentials for someone that has to come?
So obviously it's similar. I feel like I've been in 1,000 times for the protest. Boots on ground are the most important thing to make this work. I've had 3 or 4 meetings, phone calls with the club throughout this week. Today, whilst I was at work, I was non-stop on and off the phone. It's getting people there. And do you know what? We were there for Arsenal. There is no denying that the fan base turned up for Arsenal. We got deflated by a poor decision in the game. And in Tottenham fashion, the game ran away from us. The fans were deflated. The fans were angry. But yeah, so when it comes to timings, just be there for anywhere between sort of, we're going to be there from, some of us are getting to the Bricklayers Arms early doors. You'd be there for maybe 11:30, 12 o'clock. Just build this party atmosphere.
You're going to be there even earlier, aren't you? You're going to be there early doors.
early doors. But yeah, so we've got to try and be there. And as I said, with the Arsenal game, the atmosphere tailed off. But when we all walked out into that ground for the Arsenal game, the atmosphere was electric. The fans were there. Tottenham were up for it. And the second that died out and the fans were still trying, it kind of walked away from it and it died down. This is why 90 minutes of nothing but us being vocal. We need to turn it into a final. Every single game between now and the end of the season has to be a final for us, regardless of who we're playing. And I think the main thing has to be as well that when the fans are there, there's a few bits that we're going to release on Thursday. We're just waiting for the finer details. But yeah, turn up. We all love the club. We might hate the ownership. I hate the ownership. But at the end of the day, I've grown up with Tottenham being my life. It's not just something that I enjoy on weekends. It's something I think about daily. It's something that I go to because I love, and we waste so much money on it and feel like we don't have a pushback. Now's the chance to try and claw our club back. And I'm not saying that, just because this is happening, ENIC are off the hook. They shouldn't be. It should be relentless, but there has to be the right time to do it. And it has to be when the players are back up and firing. If they get back up and firing, that's why we're important. We're the 12th man.
Yeah, I completely agree. And look, you know, on this channel, you get enough hate about ENIC. We'll come on to that in a minute with the change for Tottenham statement and stuff. But yeah, I think this is such a pivotal moment in our history, and it's a generational threat to the status as a Premier League club, right? Potentially. And so I think this is a moment where you just have to, unfortunately, in spite of the ownership and the board who have put us in this perilous position, we have to suck it up, right? And I think for me, Stu, one of the things that I found interesting this season, and it's come from some of the mainstream media as well as, Frank himself, even early in the season, is this criticism of the fans and almost it's felt at times there's been a bit of blame put on the fans for the situation that we've been in because of toxic atmospheres and all of this type of stuff. And I think things like this, Stu, just show you what this fan base is about and how much they do support the team, and how much shit we've been through in the last however long with Enoch. I think it's an absolute joke that the fans have been blamed for any of this, to be honest.
Yeah, like you've got to be sensible in what you say. There's certain things you can and can't say. And when you're coming out making comments like that, you're walking a very tight rope. As soon as you lose the crowd, you're in deep trouble. And that's one thing you've got to kind of realize, when you're in that situation. You can all say things at the heat of the moment at the end of a press conference. And you might look back and go, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." But people say things at the heat of the moment. But look, I don't think there's any innocent parties in this. Like I've found it harder to go to games because of the negative feeling around the crowd. Like for me personally, like I've never booed my team off the football pitch.
No,
and I've never ever booed them. Never. I refuse to. And going to away games and even away fans, they're booing at the end of the game. For me, that's not right in my eyes. Like I get we're frustrated, but it just doesn't help the situation in my eyes. So look, it's like a double-edged sword. If you're going to boo players, they're also going to have that reaction, and it's just going to put their noses up. It's just a vicious circle. But like of Thomas Frank and that, like I said, they're the ones that are kind of responsible for it. Like Thomas Frank, he wasn't, in my eyes, he wasn't very good media trained at all. If you watch him, his comments, everything he says, he says it with a loose tongue. And it is quite frustrating. It is frustrating, and we can all talk about the owners and stuff, and Levy and Enoch and all them type of people, But look, there's one thing I will say about Darren Levy, just quickly. I've always got to make this point. The only thing that if he was still at this football club, by the way, he would have got the boot a long time ago. That West Ham game, that'd have been it. It'd have cut the sword, and we probably wouldn't be in this situation right now. We wouldn't, But the fans finally, well. We're hoping because like I said, Jaay said earlier, the Arsenal game, I thought the atmosphere was brilliant. Like I think we got, like I said, spot on, robbed by a decision, and all of a sudden, we're losing the game. Things start going against you, and of course, it's hard to get up for it when you're getting beat 3-1 or 4-1. It's difficult, But I'm hoping the atmosphere on Sunday, I'm sure the players will turn up. I'm hoping Mr. Tudor's got a formation where he's not going to leave us open and exposed, because that's been the problem we've had since he's been at the game. Since he's been here, Fulham, Arsenal, Atletico, all games we opened up, we shouldn't have opened up. Crystal Palace, but thankfully, hopefully, it'll be interesting to see what he does Sunday, though, because obviously we're the team that's going to have to take it to Forest as well. I'm sure Forest will take a point right now. So it's going to be interesting what he's going to do. Is he going to set us up to attack? Is he going to set us up to play a bit more on the counter? Time will tell.
Yeah, and look, I think, the other thing I would say is for any fans that are not able to go to the game, there's nothing stopping you turning up for the coach as well, because we know that obviously some fans like to go up to the area to just don't want to go into the stadium because they have a view about the ownership or whatever else. Yeah. But please do turn up in numbers for the coach when it arrives, and as the guys say, all of their hard work in arranging this, please do get involved. Jaay, in terms of, obviously Stu alluded to it about how the club have been helpful in arranging this as well. I wonder if you could just speak a little bit to that, because I assume it's been you that's had most of the calls of the club.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's been relentless speaking between the club, the stadium security staff, the police. It's just everybody trying to be organised. And it's not necessarily, obviously, you would expect you'd expect Tottenham to be Tottenham, and there'd be pushbacks or there'd be delays and information coming slow. In fairness, they've been very quick at turning this around, and it's probably because politely they've probably seen their asses a little bit and realised how badly they do need the fans. And it's one of them situations where we asked a lot. We went there, we sort of had a plan and said, look, this is what we're aiming to do. Whether you give us permission or not, this is what we're hoping to do. And obviously the one thing that was up in the air was, are they going to be getting a coach or are they going to be traveling via bus? And we managed to sort of squeeze that Tudor has been getting them to get a coach in the last couple of games, but there's certain players that do travel via car. So we just sort of demanded a bit of an answer. Is it possible if we were going to do it? And luckily, they've come back fairly quick. We weren't supposed to actually find out till late Thursday afternoon. They've come back and they've confirmed the players will be traveling via coach. They've also confirmed that we will be given a location that can be safe as well. Obviously, the one thing is there's going to be people that might want to bring their children here. And I'll tell you what, having your kid there in a party atmosphere, my kids were there for Bodo and at the screening at the stadium. It was absolutely quality. And we just want to create that atmosphere. And sort of, we've gone to the club with the plan. Me and Stu sat on a call with them last week and said, look, this is what we need from you. And they've come back. And obviously today it's been phone call after phone call after phone call, getting the finer details ironed out. I've dealt with Haringey Council today for planning, well, not planning permission, for permission for barriers, obviously just to safely have the fans there. The one thing we do have to push is making sure there's no fans who decide to try and jump these barriers. They're there for our safety, the players' safety, and they're there for just making sure that we can make this event as such possible. And yeah, there's been calls, obviously me and Stu constantly in contact, Billy, Josh Belton, Harrison, who's made that amazing video. If you've not seen it yet, get on Twitter, you'll see it straight away. You've got Kern doing his editing. You've got Return on the Shelf who's involved. You've got Spurs Flags. I will touch on Flags before I finish up later. There is a plan for them, and it's the only hint I'm going to give you is get down to Bricky's nice and early. But yeah, there's so many of us working on it, and it's so hard because obviously there's so many people that can be, who want to be involved, and you can't have too many people because it gets lost in communication. At the end of the day, none of us are here to take any claim to fame for this. It's just I just want to see my club win. Obviously, I've got 9-10 months before I go to Australia, so I just don't want to be watching us from Oz at 4 a.m. in the Championship.
And struggle to get a link, mate, to be fair, for the Championship as well. I mean, it's genuinely a point though. Like, I was talking to one of the fans of the show who I've met in person, and he was saying, in the States, and he was saying, like, if we get relegated, I think people don't realise that it's actually much more difficult for them to then access the games even, right? So yeah, so it's all of those implications as well that people don't think of.
100%. And Stu, there's a couple of Everton fans watching, and obviously, it's interesting that Richarlison has been at the figurehead of both of these movements. But for anyone sort of, not that there has, to be fair, the reception has been very positive, but to anyone that's been doubting it, would you say that what Everton fans did back then is sort of a proof that this can definitely work?
Yeah, 100%. This is kind of where the inspiration come from, for being honest. It was literally that. I literally saw about it like a few days before we played Crystal Palace. And it kind of was what gave me a bit of inspiration, when I was sitting there thinking, what can I do? What can I do? I need to do something. Somebody needs to do something. And I thought, I'm not going to sit around and wait. And it literally was the Everton expired, inspiration that come to me. And that is what it is. I saw it and I saw what they'd done. Their scenes were absolutely incredible. As that coach came in, they packed it. There was, singing, and they kind of were that 12th man, and they dug their team out of a really, really big hole, and kind of felt like, it was the right thing to try and do. And like I said, here we are. It's turned out to be a positive event, and I must stress this though, it is a positive event. I know Jay's said it and Bill said it. We cannot afford any trouble at this as well. This is going to be strictly, like a real positive event. We don't want any trouble, no silliness, and if you are Spurs fans there and you see someone next to you misbehaving, try and have a calm word. We can't be getting involved with the police and stuff like that. They're all giving us as much leeway as possible. So it's up to us to act like adults and treat each other and treat the coach and treat everyone's safety as paramount. That's the main thing that's happening here. Because if this is a success, moving forward, we might need to do it again in a couple of weeks' time against Brighton. We might need to do it against Everton last game of the season to stay up. And if we can make this a real success, we potentially could get a green light straight away without having to worry about going through all the palaver again. I'm sure if this is brilliant and it all goes off safely and happy and they go away thinking, what a great event, oh my God, then I'm pretty sure if we come to them again, it will be a shortcut answer. Go on, boys, go for it. So
I was going to say,
a lot of
Stu,
incentive as fans.
I was going to say, mate, obviously we've got 4 home games left, as you mentioned there, and 4 quite winnable home games in Forest, Brighton, Leeds and Everton. Everton last game of the season, obviously. Is the intention to try and do this for every home game, do you reckon?
Look, my intention at the moment is obviously see how Sunday goes. Like I think Sunday, obviously after this, we've got a big window where we haven't got international break.
3 weeks,
well,
isn't it?
so,
3 weeks off.
Yeah, so it's going to give us plenty of time, and obviously then we've got a away game when we come back as well. So we're going to have a long time to the next game. But a lot can happen. We could go to Sunderland and win that game. We could be out of jail. But ideally, if it is a real good event and people are up for it, it's something that I would love to do, like the Brighton game as well. 5:30 kickoff, perfect opportunity, great time to do it as well. It'd be a bit easier, hopefully, on the trains as well. By the way, if you are coming Sunday, just quickly going to plug it. There is train trouble at Liverpool Street, so just plan your routes early and make sure you're there on time. So yeah, it's definitely something that I would like to do for the rest of the season if it's needed. Obviously, there's a lot of time, a lot of effort goes into it. But like I said earlier, just a minute ago, if it is a positive event and it all goes off really well and the club are happy, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be too hard to get a green light for the remaining fixtures if we needed to do it.
Yeah, and I think it will be. I mean, we get this a lot, Stu, in response to the protests, right? Around, is it going to be and obviously that is slightly more negative in its in what it's trying to do than this is, and I've never seen any trouble on any of the protests even, and I'm sure it's definitely going to be good vibes for this on Sunday. I think everyone is pulling in the same direction, and do you know what? I think you're going to get numbers. I think you're definitely going to get numbers for this. So yeah, really top job.
100%. And just going back to the Everton thing, there's a really good interview of Andros Townsend, which I don't know if people have seen. I urge you to check it out if you're not. And he said Everton were absolutely shocking at the time, and they couldn't win any games. They were low on confidence. They were terrible. He said, but when they drove past on the bus, they drove past those fans outside. Once it started happening, it really lifted the team, and that's when they started to get results. And obviously, it was actually Richarlison that scored a few goals in that time, and hopefully he'll do the same again. But if you're doubting the impact this can have on the players, and I urge you to watch that Andros Townsend interview, because he literally talks about how it's what lifted us over the line, because he said they were terrible, Everton, at the time. They said they were losing game after, a bit like we are now, but who knows? Yeah. And just coming on to this, Jay, as well, someone in the chat has said Mawani travels by car, and I've seen someone say that they've driven past, but just again to sort of, and it's funny coming from us because we normally protest against the club, but the club have been really helpful with this, haven't they? They've actually agreed that all the players are going to be on the bus this time, haven't they?
Yeah, so it was discussed in Monday's team meeting that all players, this is including injured players, will be on this coach to the ground. This was a request that come directly from the top of the club to Tudor. Obviously, he had final say. And yeah, his decision was every player will travel in via the coach. We do have a route. We do have a location. I'm just waiting for the confirmation of where the barriers are going to go up, and then we can get it out. What we will do, just so it's simplistic, I know we're saying bricklayers, that's where most of us will be drinking prior to this or being out. But we will have a rough route, and I believe it's from the corner of bricklayers down to where the memorial is, barriered off. So once I get that, we'll put it out on Thursday, I believe, Stu. We're going to get some more info out.
Yeah.
And then what we can do from there is we can build on it. But yeah, ultimately, that is where the club have stepped up and sort of said, look, the fans are doing this. This isn't a club organised thing. This isn't organised by this is just organised by passionate fans. And I know I'm seen as one of the negative ones on Twitter. I lose my head a lot. It's just because I care. And I'm sick of hating the football club that I love. And that's what I hate, the ownership. I will never, ever change that opinion. I do not want them here. But I care so much about the crest that's on that badge. And I tell you what, I'm willing to do what I can do as a fan to try and bring this club up. If it doesn't work, I can say I've done my part.
100%.
100%. And it feels like, not everyone at the club is doing their part at the moment, but I just think it's important for fans to feel like we did everything that we could, and just at the end of that season, whatever happens, whichever way the chips fall, the fan base know that we tried to do everything that we could, and that's all we can do, really, isn't it?
Definitely.
It is, mate. And I think just moving on to, I suppose, the change for Tottenham's stance on this bill, because obviously this is, and Jay, this has been something that obviously the three of us with the other guys have all been grappling with after initially announcing, protest action for Forest, and then obviously in light of this going back on that. I think, for those of you who have not had a chance to read the statement, please do, because I think it explains our position pretty well. And I think it's, as the guys have all said, this has not changed our view on the ownership at all. And I think in many ways we're doing this in spite of the ownership and the board. But it is such a pivotal moment in the club's history. And, I think there is both the point of this is the time to get behind the team, even though we feel like the ownership don't deserve us doing that. But also, it would make very, very little sense for Change for Tottenham to try to do something on a game where all of these supporters groups are coming together as one. And we feel, I think, as Change for Tottenham, it's fair to say, Bill, that we need to be part of that as well, right? And the time for action in terms of against the ownership will still come. And I hope as well that these other supporters groups, and I think someone made this point, these other supporters groups will see that Change for Tottenham have done this as well, and hopefully support what we're trying to do, right, when it comes to that action against the ownership. But for me, in an ideal world, we go on a little run now, we win all of our games, and we're safe before that Everton home game, and we can look at potentially doing something against the ownership for that Everton home game, right? And we're already safe by that point.
Yeah, and I think, 100%. And I think obviously, like, go back in time a little bit, and after that January transfer window, which was a really disappointing time for everyone, and I think what's happened since that, we've pretty much lost every game since that January transfer window. And so obviously the plan was, right, everyone was feeling angry. We all fans were feeling really, really angry. It's like, right, let's protest all the remaining home games and try and get rid of these owners. And I don't blame any fans for feeling that way. Certainly feel, our feelings towards the owners are not secret. But in the wake of that January transfer window, we've lost every single Premier League game. At the start of January, we were 13 points behind West Ham. Now we're 1 point above them. 13 points above them, sorry. Now we're 1 point. Things change really, really quickly, and we're in an unprecedented situation. And now suddenly, where Stu was talking about earlier, and we've spoke about all the time. Relegation is not just something which we can ignore anymore. It's something which we were actually bookies' favourites to go down on Wednesday when West Ham got that point. So we're in unprecedented times, and things change in football really, really quickly. And I just feel like at the moment, and it's not to say the owners get off or anything like that. It's just what we have to do is those positive vibes and try and get behind the team. Because if we can pull this team out of this and stay in the Premier League, that might be the time for when something different comes. But at the moment, it just feels like we've got to throw everything behind this positivity and this like Jay says, we all kind of fallen out of love with our football club this season because it's been so terrible. But this might be a way to bridge that gap again and repair that damage between the fans and players. And Stu, I just wanted to ask you, because it has been quite an interesting season in terms of players and fans. It's been, we had the Mickey van der Ven thing when they've been sort of arguing with fans, and we've had some Instagram comments from players and stuff like that, and players have been booed off and stuff like that. Do you think Sunday is a chance for everyone to move on from all that and start fresh again, and it's a chance for the fan base to rebuild that relationship with the players?
I think we have to. I don't think it's a case of, we're going to ask this question. I think it's a case I have to. I think we almost need to like scrap the league now and just have like a mini 8-game league. I think that's the best way we can look at it. We've got 8 cup finals left here. It's in our hands. We're not relying on other teams. It's in our hands. We've got some winnable games in my eyes. Obviously Forest at home, I think it's a winnable game. I think Sunderland, obviously, they're in a bit of a rut at the moment. I think it's another winnable game. Brighton at home, difficult game. You're at home though. We've got some games, Everton at home, difficult, Leeds at home, difficult. They're winnable games. Wolves away, another one, another hard game, winnable game. I just think at the moment, we need to definitely, just like you said, get behind the team. Like, I'm with you guys, like the ownership, I feel exactly the same as you guys. I join the protests when they're there, and I'm fully behind them at the right time. And I fully am on board with you guys completely. I think that when we are mathematically safe or mathematically down, I think that is the time we flip the switch and we go the other way. But until that moment, you know, we need to put it all on hold. And thank you to all the guys that have thankfully cancelled their protests. You know, they've obviously seen the light, and credit to them for doing it. They didn't have to, but thankfully, obviously they love the football club just as what we do, and thankfully they've jumped on board, and you know, we're all sailing down the same hymn sheet. And for me personally, I think it's great, it's fantastic, and like I said, Sunday, clean sweep, clean slate. Let's get behind the boys. You know, like, look, you don't understand how much a win on Sunday can catapult our season. 3 points on Sunday, we've got a 4-point cushion all of a sudden, and things are looking rosy. All of a sudden, the pressure's on the other teams below us, and we're almost looking up rather than looking down. So it's definitely, like I said, it's the biggest game of our season, and that is quite shocking to say as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. 8 games to go when you're saying Nottingham Forest at home is the biggest game of our football season. It's actually really, really, it is. You know, but you know, we've just got to get behind them. Like I said, 8 cup finals, and you know, I honestly believe we've got enough to get out of it. I look at our squad, and I'm just absolutely flabbergasted that we're actually in this situation when you look at the players we've got on this side. Like, they've just somehow not gelled. I don't know if they've not agreed with certain managers, tactics. They all look drained. Thomas Frank looked like they didn't want to play for him. You know, we had that until Tudor the other day. They looked like they didn't want to play for Tudor until Liverpool, and all of a sudden they've just pulled that fighting performance out of the bag. And on to Sunday we go. Yeah, let's all be united. 8 cup finals, little mini league, and I'm sure we'll stay up.
And Connor, obviously, it's never an easy decision to make about protests in time and cancelling and all that kind of thing. And obviously, when you cancel anything, you know, you do take a step backwards. There's no doubt about that. We're not hiding away from that. But, you know, Change for Tottenham have always been about supporting the team, not the regime. That's always been a mantra. And do you think that's part of the reason why the protests have been paused? And that, not to say that protests ever get in the way of supporting the team, because Change for Tottenham have always made that very, very clear. But do you think in this really special circumstance that we're in, we have to even go a step further and, you know, try and get down there early and do this outside the stadium and all come together with all the other groups and stuff? Do you think part of the reason why we made this decision is because it's such an unprecedented situation that we're in?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely that. And I also think that, you know, as a group, obviously we want to represent supporters' views. Now, if every other supporters group is coming together to do, you know, this positive piece, and obviously all of us as members of Change for Tottenham, obviously I'm the newest of the 3 of us. None of us want to see this football club get relegated, whatever because it's an absolute fallacy, by the way, that ENIC are going to change if we get relegated, or they're definitely not going to sell, because the valuation will go down the toilet if we get relegated. And in my mind, I've seen them not change for 25 years. They're not suddenly going to change because we go in the Championship and start making sensible footballing decisions. So the only people that really lose are us, right, as fans. I don't particularly. I'm sure, Stu, as much as you love travelling around, you don't particularly want to go to Lincoln away, I'm guessing, other than to tick off a football stadium. But, you know, it's
I know, I hear a lot of people saying that, you know, Championship, no VAR and all that. Look, you've got to be brutally honest. If we go down, it's going to set us back so many years. Like, the financial implications that we're going to take is incredible. You know, it's going to set us back so much. You know, this club cannot go down. It's that simple. We are the 9th richest club in the world. We've got financial fair play restrictions. We're not restricted like other teams. You know, we are there. We are ready and built. And like, as much as we hate Daniel leaving, we hate ENIC, which I completely do. They've built something ready to take over English football, in my opinion. Like, for me personally, I look what they've built and I thank them for what they've built. But unfortunately, like you said, they're not going to change. They're never, ever going to change their ways. They're going to stick to the old habits. It's all about making money. They had a war chest, which they said they put in January. We didn't buy one player. You know, that they aren't going to change their stripes, unfortunately. And until they move on, you know, nothing is really going to change. But you have to thank them in certain situations, the fact that they've built this amazing facility ready for us. You know, we're not like Newcastle United, where they've got the richest owners in the world but can't spend a penny. You know, once we get that money behind us, I'm sure Spurs will elevate to the next level where we all want to be.
And
Yeah.
we'll, it's been an amazing show. And we'll wrap up in the next 10 minutes or so because I know that. Well, I'm in the group chat. It's been absolutely wild tonight because obviously it's where we drop the information. I know these guys are super busy. But Jay, I just want to come on to the actual game itself, which is weird because we've got another game tomorrow. But I feel like all the attention is on Forest, if we're being honest. I just wondered, I think a big call that Tudor's going to have to make is a lot of people have seen that there was a really decent performance against Liverpool, really good spirit, good fight. And our captain and vice captain were not playing in it. And they're going to be back for that game. Do you think Tudor has a decision to make? People like Kevin Dance who had a fantastic game against Liverpool, no doubt. What do you think Tudor's going to do with Mickey van der Ven in this game? Because it's a big call, right?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, hello?
Can you hear, Jay?
Hang on. I might have to join back. 1 second, boys.
Cool. I'll ask the same question to you, Stu. What do you think Tudor's going to do with Mickey van der Ven and Romero in terms of can he afford not to play them?
The thing is, I think Danso has to start for me. I think you've got to take the ego side out of it. I think you've got to take the stature of Mickey van der Ven and Romero. I think you've got to take it out of it, and you've got to play a guy that's just basically got single-handedly really got us a point in that back line. The only problem I do have with that is there something there that says Mickey van der Ven and Romero have to start? That's the only thing. We heard about things in Sonny's contract apparently where he had certain cane, they had to play certain games and that type of thing. And you do wonder if these guys got power over the club. Personally for me, up until the Mickey van der Ven interview today, I would have dropped him personally. Yeah. I would have dropped. He's the one I would have dropped out the team. Him coming out today as kind of great move by the club, by the way. Very, very, very clever. Doing what they've done is just kind of took all that negative shadow away from him. Which was the right thing to do. If they left that till tomorrow night and he comes on, I reckon you've had fans booing at him. I really do, but they've come out and have squashed that. But for me personally, I just don't see how you can drop Kevin Danso after that display. He was an absolute colossus warrior at the back there. He isn't the greatest footballer. He's not the greatest on the ball, but he wants to play for the club. He wants to play for the badge. And for me, that is worth more than anything in this world. I would rather someone like that at the moment than a half-hearted Mickey van der Ven or a half-hearted Christian Romero. So, it's just which way out of Romero and van der Ven you drop. Because for me, Danso is undroppable. But if I had to sit here and say now, I think Danso gets dropped. I think they will drop him.
It's going to be a big call. And obviously the decision coming over to you, Jay, is out of his hands tomorrow because this guy is suspended. But do you think at the moment, Jay, with the situation that we're in, and Stu just mentioned players fighting there, do you think we're in a situation at the moment where Richarlison is first name on the team sheet these days because of how we've seen him do this before and he's doing it again at Tottenham, it seems like?
Yeah, I mean, Richarlison's the one that's been in these trenches before. He knows what the pressure is like, and he's not the most technically gifted footballer in the world. He's not the most clinical striker in the world. The one thing he does is he puts himself about. And I mean, Kolo Muani, bar his assist, he's played like a player that's on loan that knows, regardless of what the implications.
Like a gap year player.
Yeah, he knows, regardless of the implications of this season, he goes back to PSG, probably gets his move to Juventus. I think Richie does have to be the first name on that team sheet, and you can say Liverpool is Liverpool for Richarlison for whichever reason. He's a guy that genuinely just hates that side of it. But at the same time, he's a guy that's always shown that he can produce that bit of magic. And can you imagine him producing that bit of magic when we need him to? And as much as a lot of us wanted him gone, last season when he wasn't producing, he was injured, then he wasn't injured, then he got injured first game back. You look at it and you say, do you know what? He is going to be sort of the player that he has to be on that team sheet. He has to be starting up top because we don't really have much else. Most of the players are out injured. So he's got to start, yeah.
And Connor, we seem to have an unprecedented amount of Everton fans in the chat today, so shout out to them as well. I think, like I said, there's no doubt that they played a part in the idea how to do this because, we saw their scenes as well. And I think, both, if Richarlison does the same for us, then he'll be a cult hero at both clubs. And Connor, do you think what are the other sort of big question marks about the team on Sunday? Because there's rumours that Bergvall will be it's confirmed that Bergvall will be on the bench tomorrow, so he might be fit for that game. Udogie back as well. Van der Ven obviously will not be suspended for this game. As Wilson says in the chat there, Xavi has not started the last couple games, like he's been on the bench. What do you think are the sort of key questions that Tudor's going to have to face when deciding that team on Sunday against Forest? Oh, you're on mute.
I think I've got the hang of that by now, wouldn't you? But anyway, I think system's the big one to start with, even before you get into selection. As the guys were saying earlier, I think we looked best when we were 4 at the back, but obviously Tudor historically has preferred playing 3 at the back, and so and he will have the players available, at least in terms of centre backs, to do that if he does want to go back to that, and it would mean not dropping down so potentially, but. Yeah, he seems to not like Simmons at all, does he? He's not really picking him. You're going to have Gallagher back presumably as well, although I think he said he's still potentially got a bug or something. And then we'll have to see with Paolini whether he comes back. But yeah, it's nice to have this problem, I suppose, in a way that you've got players coming back and you've actually got some choices, right? And rather than just having to put square pegs in round holes to just fill out an 11. So, but I mean, I would personally stick with a 4-4-2 if we can, because I do think that worked best, and I think we look more of a threat at the moment with having someone up top with Richarlison.
Yeah,
although I did think Solanke was poor against Liverpool personally. I thought he's one of the worst.
Yeah, I did.
And now he's got a small problem, which for any Spurs fan is a terrible words for hearing it.
Just quickly, I don't know if you boys have, obviously I know we've been on here. Senegal have just been stripped of their AFCON winners medals. They've given it the result to Morocco.
Just seen there you go, a Spurs player losing a trophy. His guy, poor Sarr, he's not had the best of seasons either, has he? But now he's lost a trophy as well. That's just mad, isn't it? And that's the kind of thing that would happen to us if we win it. If we win a trophy. But also on that very note, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I know we won't talk about it in detail now, but the Chelsea fine that's come out, and it's basically been said that they were cheating. Obviously, if you go back to 2017, we finished second behind Chelsea, and now it's been confirmed that they cheated to get there. That's just unbelievable, isn't it? Like, that should be our league title, and it just shows how corrupt football is at the moment. But so that saw me and really pissed me off, because how different would our lives be if that cheating hadn't happened and Tottenham had won that league that year? Who knows? But I just want to hand it over to you guys just to finish off, Stu, and then we'll come to you, Jay, to finish as well. What would be your message to any Spurs fans? And I know you got a good practice on this, too, because I know you did it the other day as well for a TV company. What would be your message to any Spurs fans watching now that maybe not they're on the fence, but just watching this on the off chance that they might come on Sunday? What would be your message to any Spurs fans coming on Sunday?
Just come up and show yourself and just be one of us. We're all going to be together on Sunday, and it's very important we are together. We don't know negative vibes, positive vibes all round. Just get behind the team. Look, we're all Tottenham supporters. We all love our football club. We pay a lot of money to go and watch them, and we have to show up and be there for them. It's that simple, The louder we are, hopefully that will lift them up. And I'm sure when they drive in and that high road on Sunday and they see the couple of thousand fans or however many are there, I'm sure it's going to lift them up through the roof. It really will. It's going to be a positive vibe, and just come and enjoy the day. Like I said, come and enjoy the day. Like I said, I've got my missus coming as well as my mum's coming as well. So this was planned a long time before I even thought about what's happening today on Sunday. But I've had to pre-warn them as well, by the way, that it's all happening. But yeah, no, just come and enjoy, have a great time. Just make sure you're there. For the coach is going to be there about 1 o'clock. So try and get there a little bit earlier. Obviously, we'd love you to get there, say 11:30 if possible. We'd love to start building a bit of pre-game atmosphere rather than just doing a 10 minutes. We want to be going for a good 34, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever. So yeah, just turn up, enjoy yourself, get behind the team. And, at the end of the day, it's all about 3 points. So it's also about 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. Get behind the boys.
And Jay, I just want to shout out JB as well. He's a real key player behind the scenes for this. He put a lot of work in with us. I didn't think I'd ever be asking this question on a podcast, but what should people wear on Sunday, Jay, as well? Because I know I can see JB mentioned that on the chat. But what should people wear on Sunday as well?
wear your white colours with pride. Let's turn it into literally a white wall for these players to drive through the middle of. And obviously, we're going to be there. Some of us are getting there at 9 in the morning. Some of us slightly later. Wear your white colours with pride. It doesn't have to be a Spurs top. It can just be a nice white top. Yeah, it's just going to be one of these things. And one of the things I will plug is, amazingly, Tottenham Hotspur Flags has ordered loads of flags, which we will be handing out at the Bricklayers Arms. So if you do want one, come grab me, come grab any of the boys that are going to be in the pub. We will sort one out. These aren't just for one game. These are for every single game for the rest of the season. We need to really, really, really push this message home to these players that we are behind them. And as I said, you can hate the ownership, you can hate the people, the directors, you can hate Vinay, you can hate Lange, both of them useless. But ultimately, the message remains the exact same. We all love the badge that's on that shirt, and nobody is bigger than that. We were there before them, we'll be there after them. Get down, show your support, and obviously just enjoy the day. Bring the party atmosphere. And after the buses come down, make sure you head to that South Stand concourse, because there's more stuff being planned on there. And it's going to be like a final. We have to make it like a final.
And Connor, because obviously, one of the things that when we obviously decided to cancel the protest we're up against was everyone coming together for this. There's going to be, going on from what Jaay just said there, there's also a 40-foot banner that's been ordered for the South Stand for a message to the players as well. Do you think this, in this situation that we're in, it's really important for, like you say, all the fan groups to come together, all the different sort of organisations, everyone just get behind the team on this Sunday, and after that is a time for reflection, and that's when we can talk about the next steps.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And I think, look, I said to you on message earlier about the sort of change for Tottenham delayed, postponing the protest. That actually, in many ways, I think that's been a smarter thing to do strategically, even as well, because we've actually had more media attention about pausing the protest than we would have if we'd had a protest that only 20 people turned up on, right? And I think most reasonable fans, obviously, we've had some stick for it, as you'd expect, as always on social media. I think most reasonable fans understand why we're doing what we're doing, and yeah, really happy to get behind the initiative from the boys, and again, just a massive thank you to Stu and Jaay and you, Bill, and everyone else who's been involved in organising it. I think it takes a lot of work from you guys, and you've all got day jobs, and you've all got families, and you've all got life. So massively appreciate you guys doing it. We have had a question, Bill, from one guy who's Gary, who's always in the chat. Good to see you, Gary, and who's a wheelchair user, so unfortunately can't get to the game, can't get a ticket. Just around whether there'll be any Sky coverage. I think the understanding is that there will be, Bill, right?
Yeah, I've just had a message from a friend of mine and Jay's, shout out Christina, who will be there on Sunday, and will definitely be there on Sunday. She's messaged to say that she's good friends with Michael Bridge. Michael Bridge has messaged her to say that Sky literally just messaged, say that Sky will be coming down to film it, so there will be coverage. There's going to be some other stuff as well that we can't fully announce yet, but it's going to be. I'll just go to you on that one, Stu and Jaay. There's going to be plenty of people there to cover it as well, aren't there? But we can't really say everything, but it's definitely going to be coverage for any fans around the world that want to watch.
Yeah. I mean, we've had BBC call today. We've had a few others. Obviously, the one thing we don't want this to go to is some diluted down movement that we're doing this just to be this club. We're not doing it for that reason. We don't need the cameras there. We don't need the media there. What we need there is the fans, the passionate people who really care about this. And ultimately, we can't tell people to go. We can ask you to come, and you can come. And the saying is, you want to be in that number. It's time to be in that number. We need to make ourselves heard. We need to make ourselves proud. And we need to do our bit. We can go, if we go down saying fans have stood there and we've tried our hardest. And I mean, our away fans, Stu, you're one of them. Home and away, every week you hear them, home and away. And it's just to the point now, if the players can't get up to this, then ultimately, if our fate does get sealed by the players not being able to do it, at least the fans can go down saying, do you know what, we did what we needed to do. And it is what it is.
100%. And I know, loads of people have been in touch. You know, loads of fans, loads of fan groups and stuff have been in touch. And I know that, you know, as Josh says here, there's going to be some live videos on socials. I know last one on Spurs are sending people to do some interviews and stuff like that. It's going to be a real community feeling, I think, Stu, isn't it? And then I think it's just about, you know, I know loads of us do stuff on social media, and I know loads of people will be there, you know, trying to get content and stuff. But it's just the main thing, isn't it? It's just about everyone coming together for this.
Yeah, exactly. I think you couldn't put it better than what Jaay did, to be honest. You know, like I said, this isn't about us blowing up our socials, trying to make ourselves more popular. This is all about our football club and doing what's best for our football club. And we've all chose to stand together. And I'm hoping every single fan that is coming to that game feels the same as us and wants to be part of this. You know, like we all sing the song, you know, part of that number. Like, you've got a chance now to be part of it. You have a chance to show up. You know, you have a chance to show up and do your part. You know, we've done our part now. Like Jaay said, it's out of our hands. But I know for a fact this fan base loves this football club, and I trust everyone that they will turn up. The response has been absolutely incredible. Obviously, I do want to thank again, though, Bill, yourself, Jaay, all the boys in that group.
Yeah, so team effort, really great team.
You've all been absolutely superb, and without all of us in that doesn't work at all. And to the fans as well, like the fans, your response has been incredible. Like, the response has been amazing. I'm sure when we get off this podcast, our phone's going to be absolutely up like a Christmas tree with notifications here, there, and everywhere. And we, like, a few fans, like, just come and enjoy the day. It's going to be an amazing day. Like I said, there's going to be Sky cameras there. There's going to be podcasts there. It's just going to be a real good, positive day. And let's just hope we end with 3 points, because that's all that matters at the end of the day.
100%. And just one last question, Jake. Someone's just sent in about the coach. You're going to confirm the coach on Thursday, aren't you? But someone says here the north stand where the away fans enter. I don't think that's going to happen, is it? I think is it? Am I right in thinking it's going to be sort of more towards the bricklayers?
Yeah, so it's more towards bricklayers. So we're actually going to start where the road closure usually begins. That's the allocated start spot. I think it's going to come up slightly past the inside of the bricklayers, and it is going to go down to the memorial. What we're going to do, that I will be getting a roadmap as such put together, just so it's a bit clearer to everybody. I know it says on there brickies. Lots of us who do enjoy a pre-match pint, and when you support Spurs, you've got to have 5 or 6. But we will make it very clear to where the fans are going to be, and obviously you will see the barriers. It is a policed event. There will be police there just to make sure everybody's safe. The posters up, guys. Obviously, our socials will have it up and everywhere. And yeah, guys, just let's have a good one, because what else can we do now? What else literally can we do bar try and enjoy the last 8 games before a heavy summer of drinking and England winning the World Cup?
Exactly. And Connor, mate, any final messages? And we'll be going. We're doing another show next week, aren't we? And you know, what will hopefully happen is when this goes really, really well, and we're doing it again for Brighton or whatever, we'll get the boys back on as well. But any messages from the show, from the channel, Connor?
No, just a massive thank you to both Stu and Jaay. Lovely to have you both on. Definitely get you back on at some point. And yeah, for anyone that's in the chat, please do all you can to push it on your own social medias or whatever else, and let your mates know, let your families know, etc., etc. And yeah, please drop us a like on the show as well, because that just helps us in terms of the algorithm. But yeah, massive thank you. And as Bill says, we'll hopefully be back after. We might do something before the Forest game, Bill. Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see, maybe Friday or something. But if not, we'll be back after Forest, hopefully after a nice win.
Yeah, and just shout out to all and a lot of Everton fans as well. I can see Tail there in the chat, being really kind about the movement. And like I said, you know, I think there's a lot of similarities in Everton and Tottenham when you look at it. And you know, two really traditional fan bases, 2 fan bases that have never been relegated from the Premier League. And let's hope that stays the same after this year too.
Thank you, guys. Come on, you Spurs.
See you guys. All the best.